Hello, friends. Welcome. It's Location Weekly, your favorite podcast show of the week. This is episode number 628. We're recording on July the 11th. And Aubriana, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Yeah, it's hot. It's humid. Vladdy won the home run derby for us last night. So there's that.
Got the All-Star game tonight. Yeah, lots to look forward to. We're really like that middle of the year, middle of the season.
Yes. Yes. Lots going on to like just energy in the city, festivals everywhere here. Music, food, and yeah, so lots of fun things to do too. So alrighty, we have a regular show for you this week, 4 stories that we're gonna walk you through. And I'll let Aubriana kick it off with some girl power.
Yeah, I mean, we can call it girl power. I am not a Barbie girl, but I might have some interest in seeing the movie. I did watch the trailer last night, and it was like a different spin than I was expecting. So, there's just so much hype around it. You've got like Barbie partnerships rolling out left and right with, I saw like Ruggable has a Barbie, opportunity that's happening. And now Barbie's going AR all over the world. So they have synced up with Snapchat and like this AR lens that they are promoting. So the movie is coming out on the 21st from Warner Brothers Discovery. And so Snapchat now has this augmented reality campaign that's featuring virtual clothing that you can try on. So I might be into that. That could be fun. I'm sure my kids would love that. And then the landmark experiences. So the clothes obviously in the movie are like all the rage, Barbie clothes all have been like, just pink and all of like Chanel and all of these amazing things. And then you've got Ryan Gosling, of course, as Ken, who's like wearing hilariously like matched and coordinated outfits with Barbie. It's great. So in addition to that, though, you can transform some real world landmarks into like Barbie's pink pastel color palette, if you will. So some of those include the Statue of Liberty that apparently launched on June 30th. I have not been over there lately, so I have not tried it. But also in Los Angeles, you can try out the Chinese Theater and then the Capitol building in DC. So they're going to also launch Eiffel Tower in Paris, Colosseum in Rome, the Tower Bridge in London, and Sydney Harbour Bridge in Australia, and then Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. So some really big landmarks. And it's cute, it's fun. It's like making this Barbie land of these iconic landmarks around the world and giving people kind of an opportunity to try on outfits. Obviously, they say Barbie has a global audience of over 750 million active users. That's a lot. My girls are not super into Barbie. They have a couple of things, but they don't really play with them apart from, the occasional bathtub pool party. That's like the extent of it. But I think that this is like interesting. It just has such a reach. And like it has changed from being kind of maybe, I don't know, very like body not so friendly for girls growing up to now it's like a very inclusive thing, Barbie. So I think it's kind of cute. I like that they're like rolling out this new kind of take on Barbie's personality and her exploring the real world alongside of all of these landmarks and some of the AR campaigns. So it's fun, but nothing like technologically groundbreaking here.
No, and I think obviously from a location point of view, I think the landmark piece is super interesting. I think it's a very good use case of Snapchat's lens in that sense. And I think, playing on the global appeal of, the Barbie brand that you referred to, and then like choosing these sort of major landmarks all over the world, and kind of recreating them in kind of Barbie land, if you will. In an AR sense, I think that makes a ton of sense, right? And I think that people will have fun with this. I think I can see families having fun with this. I think I'm with you too on it's changed a lot over the years. I know my sister growing up, had a couple Barbies and whatnot, but now it's like it's so inclusive. There's so much diversity and reflected within that ecosystem that is Barbie now. So I think it's interesting, and yeah, and the hype is huge. Like everywhere I go right now, whether it's the local hardware store or whatever, there's some Barbie promotion going on. It's kind of interesting to see like how entrenched they are with this. So yeah, I think it's a good play. Like I'm with you on the tech side. Obviously this is not new, we're not breaking new ground here, but I do think it's a really good layer on top of the physical world with the landmark lenses that's happening here. So very cool.
Lots of fun.
Yeah. All right. On to our second story now. So one of the big announcements in the last week is the launch of Threads, the new Twitter-like or Twitter rival, if you will, from Meta. I downloaded this and have kind of registered for it. It was very easy to do because it's coming from Meta. So if you already have an Instagram or Facebook account, you can basically just sign in, with your existing profile. I haven't done any posting on it yet, but I have looked through, the feed. It's very, very similar, if not exactly the same as the way that Twitter works, for those familiar with how Twitter has been operating. A couple of kind of differences that I've kind of noted is that the character length is 500 characters, whereas Twitter's is still shorter than that, but had that cap when they first launched too. So I think that's an interesting difference. The other one is it doesn't appear that within Threads right now there's hashtags or searching based on keywords or things like that. So for me, that's something that needs to be there. Like from a business perspective, I was always a big user of Twitter, and used it as a research tool. Who's talking about this right now, or what articles are people posting about this topic or this with this keyword or this hashtag. So I assume that's something that will come over time. The other thing that I think is interesting, because it's of the linkage between Threads and Instagram, the number of photos you can post is much higher than in the Twitter one. So it's 10, which is the same as what you have in Instagram. So I think that's also an interesting distinction there. And it's growing fast, right? From a brand and advertising perspective, they've already, have more than 10 million users in the first, couple of days. I think it's like almost 20 now. So it's, it's growing fast. I think from an advertising point of view, I can see this as a major threat to Twitter, because brands and agencies are already used to spending money with with Facebook and Instagram and the Meta platforms. And so they have the accounts, they have, those things already set up. So it's not going to be a big leap for them to jump and say, hey, we'll also advertise on Threads, or run it across, all three platforms, within the Meta universe, as opposed to Twitter, which is still struggling to find, revenue models. So I think it is a major threat. And then the last comment is when it comes to, sort of the data side of things, because we're dealing with Meta, they're tracking everything. So just, know that when you're using this. Somebody posted, I think it was actually Jack Dorsey posted in response to a question, the privacy policy, but just to list it off, they're tracking. They say the following data may be collected and linked to your identity: health and fitness, financial info, contact info, user content, browsing history, purchases, location, contacts, search history, and identifiers. So everything, basically. That's, I think, the caution here. But if you're already comfortable with Instagram and Facebook, then you should probably be fine with this too. So thoughts?
Yeah, I do see this as a major threat to Twitter, actually. I think that, the fact that Facebook and Instagram already have mass adoption, it makes it very simple for them to go in. And I mean, just scrolling through like my LinkedIn feed and seeing the amount of people who have decided to completely cut off Twitter after, years of of time and tenure and investment on that platform, and maybe millions of followers. I think it's really interesting to see that they're angry and fed up enough to just leave and go somewhere else. And so, yes, we all know what data is being captured. We've been dealing with that for years. That's not going to be changing, I am sure, because they monetize that and continue to kind of grow their walled garden approach there. But I just read, I think it's now like 100 million users are on there. So, that it's gaining mass adoption. And, I did link my account. I have not posted anything. So we will see like if that's something I want to invest my time in the future. I don't know. I think I've like moved my consumer behavior after everything happened at Twitter. I just was like, okay, I'm kind of done for a little while, like taking a break and stepping away from most social media platforms. But, this could be a resurgence. It could be an invitation for people to get involved again. So it's one I definitely want to pay attention to and keep a pulse on.
Well, and we do post this podcast show on Twitter. So, probably this week or next, we should start to post it on Threads as well and see what happens.
So, yeah, we might switch that up.
Right.
So, kind of thinking about personas and targeting, and in that same thread, same vein, I would say that we have this announcement. It's not really a big story, but our third story today is about a company called Nano Interactive, and they are based out of London, and they've launched what they're calling identity personas, which they say can help marketers target their advertising without the use of cookies. So not everybody has the repository of data like a Meta may have. So being able to tap into certain identity and personas is always important for many brands, marketers, advertisers, wherever they are spending on their media. So they have this platform that they have debuted now, and it's really like intent personas. So allowing brands to reach specific demographics without relying upon any personal kind of data. Now, there's not a lot of notes here in terms of like the methodology or how they're going about this, but the CEO is really saying that it's empowering brands to reach those demographics without relying on any personal data, and that they've conducted research that show that 70% of consumers are masking their online identity on a weekly basis. So they're kind of going through and I guess like clearing out their cookies or doing things that would make tracking them a little bit more difficult. So I don't think this is necessarily new, right? Like, I don't think this is groundbreaking. I think there's a lot of companies that are offering cookieless targeting opportunities, whether that's through hashed email or, data crosswalks, data clean rooms. There's a million different ways. Well, maybe not a million, but there's like, probably 10 different ways that you could match data sets and activate through different platforms and different media types. So I don't think that this is anything groundbreaking, and it's kind of like, so what? But I think that more and more we are seeing the focus of like, hey, how do I keep things more privacy centric? How do I make sure that I can reach the right audience? And then how do I measure against that? So, I think they're just maybe trying to get in here on the game and the trends, but it's something that we can keep a pulse on and see.
Yeah. So as far as the trend of cookieless targeting and kind of enabling that, I think that it's absolutely everybody's searching for ways to do that. So I think from a positioning point of view, Nano Interactive is in a good space here. So this company's been around since 2014. The two of the founders come from ValueClick, which then became Conversant. They've raised a bunch of money, from what I can tell, over 9 million pounds in funding. So they're well capitalized from that perspective. They have offices throughout Europe, which is where they operate. And I think intent-based targeting is kind of one of the key places we're at right now, right? Even with my startup at ground level, like, we now have personas for targeting as well, based on, sort of cohort type of, audiences. So like, these are luxury shoppers, these are, stay-at-home moms. These are whatever, based on kind of where they've been, but it's all, sort of non-identifiable, anonymous information, right? So I think that there's a lot going on in this space for sure. And I think this is, sort of one of the approaches that we're seeing in terms of how we're getting around the privacy issues right now. So good on them. Good timing. All right, moving over to now our final story. So this one is also interesting. So there's a company out there called GoodMaps, and I believe we've talked about these guys before, not recently, like probably about 2 years ago now. And so they've launched an update to their platform. Which they're calling GoodMaps Outdoors version 5. And what's new about this is it's really sort of well situated for focusing on folks who are visually impaired. So this is a navigation and mapping application. So think sort of Waze or something, or Apple Maps, but for navigating for visually impaired and other things like that. And one of the key pieces of this that is part of this new announcement is that they've incorporated 3D audio announcements into the navigational shortcuts. And what I like about this is the way that they've gone about this, I think, is interesting. So Microsoft, going back in time here, as all these big companies do, had a research project running called Soundscape 3D, and they shut this project down late last year. They had originally started it back in 2017. They completely, sunsetted or shut it down. But that was the sort of the intent of the Soundscape tech platform that Microsoft had developed, which was to support, audio-based announcements and cues in navigation for visually impaired people to better know, what's going on in their surroundings. And so it would tie into kind of the phone sensors, and then as a user walks by on notable roads or intersections, it's kind of less turn by turn and more like audio announcements. Here's where you're at right now, or tying into beacons and kind of giving these kind of audio notifications of what's going on. So they shut it down, and then they basically took all the Soundscape code and they released it open source in GitHub for anyone to play with. And so GoodMaps has obviously jumped on top of this and said, hey, this is exactly what we need, and we're building this into our latest version here and supporting it from that point of view. So and these guys have been at it for 20 plus years. So it's I love to see when good technology and good intentions come together and find a way to live on, even though like there might not be a commercial intent for it as Microsoft had originally envisioned. The technology is living on in an interesting and useful way. So
yeah, I mean, there's two things that I think this is a feel-good story. One, I think I like the surprising fact that they're based out of Louisville, Kentucky. It's like random. But I think that their mission is just like so beautiful. And I just wanted to read that. It says, born out of the American Printing House for the Blind, an organization whose mission is to promote the independence of individuals who are blind and visually impaired. GoodMaps is developing and commercializing new technologies and pushing the boundaries of indoor mapping and positioning systems. So it's just like nice to know that in this industry where we are always so like marketing and advertising driven, I love these stories that come out and are talking about like how we're using technology to actually help people or help a group of people who, maybe need a little bit more support in order to simply navigate life, right? So I think this is like a really great company, and I like this story a lot.
There you go. So that's our 4 stories for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. If you have story ideas, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear about them. If you have feedback for us, we want that too, as usual. If you're on Threads, let us know about that, because hopefully we'll be posting on there as well. And we'll see you next week with another show. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye.